Webinar today. This is Basics 4 on using the research tool, the word study feature, and the My Stuff section in the library. Dr. Nathan Parker is teaching this evening. If you have any questions, please go ahead, type those into the questions section, or click on your hand if you'd like to be called on. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Parker.
Thanks, Linda. So while everyone is coming into the webinar, and sorry for that phone ringing in the background. So while everyone is coming into the webinar, we've got a few announcements that I want to make really quickly. So first off, we've got a great sale going live into this webinar. Some of the functionality I'm going to discuss today will work in both Accordance 13 and 14. Some of the functionality does require Accordance 14. So in our last webinar, we talked about how to search individual modules in our Basics 3 searching webinar. And today we're going to build upon that and show you how to take advantage of research. So research allows you to search multiple modules, multiple books in your Accordance library using this search box here up at the top right corner of the screen. And so in the research, I'm just going to type a word in there. For example, I'm just going to type in Jerusalem and hit my return key or the enter key if you're on a Windows PC, and research has run this search. And I have my entire library has now instantly been searched in just a matter of seconds for this term. It searched my texts, my tools, and then it breaks down the various tool categories and allows you to see these searches. And so, for example, if I hone in on my dictionaries and I click on one, it's going to give me the article for that dictionary. So it's going to search. Generally, this searches a couple of different fields when you're performing research. It's first going to search the titles field. And then, since in this case I searched for an English word, it also will go down and search later on for the English content. So if you see a book listed twice in the library, that's why. One of the times it's going to search for titles, one of the times it's going to search for English content. And then I can read my article right here in research if I want to, or I can click on open and actually open the article right up here in its own zone. I can also arrange the font if I want to. And then with the action menu here on the side, I can choose to just show excerpts or show the full text of the entry as well. So for mine, I have it set to show the full text. You can also choose how you want certain research sorted in this research tab. You can sort it by importance, so that's going to put articles that pertain more to your search term up front, or do you want to sort it by library order, or do you want them to be sorted alphabetically? You can do that as well. We have some basic search analytics that can also be done right here from research. You can perform hits or analysis, graphing or bar charts and pie charts when it's searching texts in your library. You do have that capability here. Also with research, you can also limit what categories that you're searching with research, and the way you do that is by using this drop-down menu. So first off, you can choose what type of fields that you want to search in research. Do you want an English term, a Greek term, a Hebrew term? Since I have Syriac resources installed, a Syriac term. Do I want to search for verses? Do I want to search for an image? And then do I want to search all my texts or all my tools or my graphics tools or certain tools in my library? So we're going to walk through a handful of these and show you how this works. So first of all, if I want to limit my search to a particular set of tools, maybe I want to search all of my theological works for justification. Well, I can click theological, type justification, and instantly we have performed that search. So I do have that capability as well. I may want to search all of my journals for Trinity. I can instantly do that as well. So you can choose categories of your tools and perform a search in accordance with a simple click. So this is also great for looking up archaic terms as well. So I was reading through the King James Bible, and I was reading through Leviticus a while back, and it had that term oblation, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm not a little too familiar with this archaic term. So I went to Accordance, selected dictionaries under research, and I typed in oblation, and with an instant click, it told me that it was an offering, and even gave me some examples of some kind of offerings that it is in Accordance. So you do have that capability of using Accordance to also define very hard to define, or some of these archaic terms as well in Accordance. You can search all of your text or Bibles at once with research as well. So if I wanted to search all of them for church, then I could do that. In this case, since I also have some non-Bible text installed on my machine, it's also getting those under this all text as well. I can also search my graphics tools. And what's neat about this is I can combine this search. For example, if I want to search just for an image, and I can go back to my search on Jerusalem, and I can uncover images throughout Jerusalem in my graphics tools and see what they look like. And I can go through and uncover some really great graphics of Jerusalem as well, and be able to see those using research. And so with research, I can search multiple works in Accordance very easily with just a simple search. Now, one thing that is important to keep in mind is that research also does have, just like we talked about last week, does have the ability to search between a flex search or an exact search as well. So if I type in, for example, love of God, and perform this search, what's happening right now, because my research is set to a flex search, the search is going to take a little bit of time to run, because it's actually searching all my modules for love, of, and God. It's searching each term individually. So I'm actually going to stop this search and change this to an exact search. And you'll notice the difference between a flex or exact search, because it's got, like we talked about last week, the squiggly line is flex, the equal line is exact. And so now if I change it to an exact search, it's actually going to search for the phrase love of God in this tool. And so we do have that capability as well. Another thing that I forgot to talk about last week in Basics 3 searching is you can search for phrases in your text as well, and you don't even have to put quotes around them. So if I put in love of God in my Bible and hit return, I'm instantly getting all of the occasions, and in this case 11 verses where love of God is found in my Bible. So I did want to point that out as well. And so with it set to the exact search, now I'm getting every time the phrase love of God is shown. And so with research, I have that ability to be able to search my entire Accordance library, or even subsets of my Accordance library, very easily using this research feature. Now, one other thing I'm going to demo on research, and then I'll open it up for questions before we look at some other features in Accordance, is one of the My Stuff features that we have, and that is My Groups. So if you open the library and you go to My Stuff, you're going to see this section that says My Groups, and you may be wondering, well, what is this? Well, My Groups are the ability for you to create your own custom search groups of particular modules in Accordance. So by default, Accordance has predefined a lot of groups already for you in Accordance that you can use for searching. So I can search my dictionaries, my commentaries, my grammars, theology books, preaching books, journals, all sorts of books here. But I can also create my own categories of books as well. So for example, if I go to theological, one set of books that I use quite often in my Bible study is the New Studies in Biblical Theology. So I can go to theological books in my library and I can click on one of the New Studies in Biblical Theology. I can hold down the Shift key and select the last one. You could also, if you don't need to select them in order, if you just need to select multiple books, you can hold down the Command key on a Mac or the Control key on Windows. And then I can right click on my selection and then I can select add to user group and I can create a new group. And I'm going to call this one NSBT. And so now I've created my own group. I'm going to do this again with my English Bibles. And so I'm going to go up in my library and I'm going to go here to my English text. I'm going to select one of my English texts and then I'm going to go down and select the last one. And I'm going to right click and say add to a user group and I'm going to call this one English texts. And now I've created a couple of search groups here. But these search groups will automatically populate here under research. So if I want to search all of the New Studies in Biblical Theology, for example, on the topic of covenant, then instantly I'm able to perform that search for covenant in just my New Studies in Biblical Theology. Or if I want to search all of my English texts for creation, I can search all my English Bibles now and see where creation is found in all of my English text. So that's a capability that we have with Accordance, is that not only can you search multiple books throughout your library, but you also have the ability to create your own search groups as well and narrow down and focus just on the modules that you want to focus on. So before I continue on, do we have any questions on how to take advantage of research?
Are there any questions?
I'm not seeing any yet. Yeah, I'm not seeing any yet. If any questions do come up with research during the webinar, let me know and I will be glad to answer those for you further. So research gives you that capability of being able to search your entire Accordance library for a term or multiple terms, and being able to really unlock the riches of your Accordance library. Pair that with the My Groups feature, you can create your own search groups in research and really be able to unlock some great power there. So next I want to move on to the word study feature and give it some ample discussion time. And this is a new feature that we've added in Accordance 14 that I absolutely love because it makes performing biblical language word studies super powerful yet super easy. And it's kind of like its own version of research, but for the biblical language word, or kind of like the info pane, but for a word. So I'm here in my English Bible, for example, and if I look here under created, as you notice, we have the instant details, which has the Hebrew word underneath of it, bara. And if I right click on this word, I can perform a word study. Now I could perform a word study on an English word if I wanted to, and that would give me some English Bible dictionaries that I could read up on the term and allow me to do some studies there. But what's really powerful is I can perform a word study on a key number as well from an English text. And so if I click on key number, then here we go. My word study report has been generated on this key number. So here I've got the word count, so I can see how many times the word is used. I get a dictionary entry. In this case, I've got the word study dictionary. It's given me a brief definition of the article, and then I can click on more if I want to and go to that entry. with text compare, I can see how many times this key number is translated in the ESV, and see that. We're going to look at text compare a little bit more coming up. And then I can also look at pie graphs and bar charts as well, and I can choose different sizes if I want to. And here again, it's pulling this one from the ESV. I can pull this chart out in its own tab, analytics tab, if I need to, but I'm getting to see everywhere where my term has been translated in the ESV, and I have that capability of getting that report back, which is super beneficial. I get the same data, but in the form of a bar graph, which is really nice as well. And then I can also look at a frequency graph, so I can see the hits per 1,000 words and see the distribution throughout the ESV. And then I can drill down on any of my key number lexicons if I want to, but here's what's really powerful. I can also drill down on any of my other Hebrew or Greek lexicons as well. So even though I pulled this report up from an English Bible, I can actually go to Halat and read Halat's article, or I can go to Nidot and read Nidot's article, or even TDOT and read its article, or even CBL and read its article. So I'm not limited to just key number dictionaries or lexicons. I can also drill down into the biblical languages using this word study report. So if you're super new to biblical language studies in accordance, this word study report allows you to take an English word in your Bible, and as long as it's a Strong's and tagged Bible or a key number tagged Bible, then you can right click on that word, you can run the report for the key number and be able to unlock the riches of your library and perform some in-depth word studies through scripture, which is pretty excellent. Now, I'm going to show you the power of this if you do have biblical language training under you. So I'm going to go to the Hebrew Bible here first, and then we'll also look at Greek. I'm going to go to Genesis 12:2, and I'm going to right-click on Goy, and I'm going to say I do want to perform a word study. And when you're in a biblical language text, it's going to ask you, do you want to perform it on the lexeme, the inflected form, or the root form? And you can choose whichever one you want. In this case, I'm going to choose the lexeme, and that's going to generate this report on Goy. Again, we have the word count. It's even going to give us the root. It's going to give us the gloss. Halat's my main lexicon here, so I can click and I can get the full article here. Again, we can see how many times that term is used in scripture, what it's translated. We're getting pie graphs here, bar graphs here, frequency graphs here again as well. All my lexicons are right at my fingertips as well. Plus, with this word study report, I can also drill down on grammars as well. So if I want to see what Futato, how many times Futato has mentioned Goy, I can do that, and I can cycle through the hits as well. I can look at Gesenius, and I can cycle through the hits as well. And I just wish I had this during seminary, because it would have made looking all these grammars up so much easier. And I can cycle through these hits of Goy in Joan Maroka or Van Pelt if I want to as well. Plus is also going to search my journals for my Hebrew term as well. So here's what BibSac is showing, how many times that it's using my Hebrew term. If I want to see it used in journals, I can do that, or BBR as well, and see its hit in there as well. So with this word study report, if I do have some biblical language training under me, then I can get to this word study report from a Hebrew or Greek Bible and really unlock the riches of my accordance library. So next, I'm going to go to a Greek text. I'm going to go to the NA28 Greek New Testament. And then I'm going to, let's see, of the search term that I want to use for this. I'm going to, let's see, I want, let me think of the Greek term that I want to search for here. So let's do one for, let me grab my English Let me go back to my English for a second and find the term. So I'm going to, let's see, grace, and I need, let's see, I want to get it for just the New Testament. So let's have some fun. So we'll do John, yeah, we'll do John 1:14 for as an example. That'll be great. So John 1:14, and I've used the quick click verse picker here in Accordance 14 to bring that up. But we also have a really neat feature in Accordance that allows you to get to the word study as well as research with just a click on a word. So you'll see here I've got this thing called Live Click Checkmarked, and with Live Click Checkmarked, I can click on, I can rest my cursor on any word here. So for example, here is that word for grace. And if I just click on it, then instantly all these different searches have been performed with a single click. And so first off, we do have all my Greek lexicons have been searched for my Greek words. So I could cycle through any of these Greek lexicons and research if I want to from Live Click. Also, all of my Bible text have been searched as well using research, so I can see the word usage of this Greek term throughout my various Bible texts. And if you do have any Bibles that are also tagged as text in accordance in your library, such as Apostolic Fathers, I can even see the distribution of how that word is used in that ancient literature as well from the search. And then it also brings in here my word study, so I can see that as well. And so here, I'm getting my word count, I'm getting the root here, and then if I click on more with BDAG, my article in BDAG is here, so I can click on that and I can read the complete article if I want to. With the text compare feature, I can actually even compare other biblical language texts as well. So here we've got the NA28 Greek New Testament. I can see how it's all translated here in the King James, or I could even see how it's translated in the ESV. So I can compare that, let's say, maybe compare it to the NASB 95. So I can see the text comparison and how the word is translated and how many times it's translated in different English Bibles. If I want to also compare Greek text as well, I can see that in the NA28, they just list it one time, but here's how it looks in the Textus Receptus, so I can see its usage of it as well. And then we have our pie graphs and our bar charts and our frequency graphs as well. Again, we have access to all of our lexicons, so I can look at TDNT if I want to. I can look at BrillDAG if I want to, CBL if I want to. And then again, I can drill down on grammars. So I can look at any of these grammars and see how this term is used, all with just a simple click. I'm not having to sit here and perform multiple searches or hunting around. It's all right here at my fingertips. Same with the journals. I can drill down and see what BibSac has to say on my term and get those searches right at my fingertips as well. So if you do have some advanced Greek or Hebrew training as well, then you can really benefit from what you can find here with the word study report. Paired with Live Click, you can simply click on the word and it's going to automatically take you to word study, plus it's going to perform some other searches in research as well. One quick thing that I will show, since I did mention it when I was first talking about word study, is just what word study looks like with an English term if you just want to see it. So here I'm going to go ahead and perform a word study with just an English word. You get a simple dictionary article. You do get the various Greek and Hebrew words and key numbers that underlie that English word. So you do have the capability of getting that. Also, that same information is given to you in the form of a pie graph or a bar graph that you can get that data, as well as a frequency graph. This is going to be how many times the English word is used throughout Scripture. And then you have your dictionary articles as well. So if you wanted to see what ISB or Anchor or New Interpreters or New Bible Dictionary or Evangelical Dictionary of Theology has to say about the word, or any of your other dictionaries, then you do have that capability as well to be able to drill down on those various dictionaries and various words there. So before I start talking about customizations with a few customizations with research and with word study, I wanted to see if there's any great or if there's any questions. Yeah, and there are some.
Yes. Can I use the different search commands in the research search window? Are there any that will not work?
Yeah, and Bert also just made the comment that search commands are also supported in research. Yeah, so search commands are supported in research. I'm not aware of any off the top of my head that don't work. If Bert, if there's any that you've played around with that don't work, you can let me know. But to my knowledge, I think they all work. Now, one thing about research, the one limitation that research doesn't do yet that you can do with tools that we talked about last week, and this is a feature request that I'm highly pushing for. I hope whenever we do get a new version of Accordance out in the future, this is one of the top things that they're going to add. I hope they do. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it's something that I'm pushing for, and that's being able to search multiple fields. So if I open a research here, for example, I can search Scripture, and then I can hit plus button, and I can hit titles or English content, and so I can search multiple fields with and or not in a particular text. It's not easily able to be done in research at the moment. So that multi-field, cross-field searching capability in research is something that I'm really personally pushing to have added, because it's one feature that I would use constantly, especially when searching theological works and journals, and it would just unlock a whole new level of power in research. And so I'm hoping they will.
David said he had trouble with the within question mark words.
Okay, yeah, I think it's been a while since I've tried that one as well. Let's see, a search command that does not work or not available will be grayed out, is what Bert said. Bert, have you tried the within X words on research, and have you gotten anywhere with it? I'm curious, because it's been a little while since I've done that. And while you're answering that, it says that it seems LiveClick allows the user to hover over a Greek term. What did you select to have the separate zones produce results for word study, lexical, and usage? Yeah, Tom, I'm going to answer that question in just a moment. So yeah, definitely that's a great question, and I'm going to show you what you can set in your software on how you want that to be done. So Bert, while you're performing that search, we'll check back in with you in just a moment and see how things are going with you on that. I'm going to go ahead and answer Tom's question now, because that was actually the next step in my training. So on the Accordance menu on a Mac, or on the Edit menu on Windows, if you're running Ventura or later, it's going to say Settings. Under Windows or before Ventura, it's going to say Preferences. There's a couple of preferences that you're going to want to look at when it comes to LiveClick and your dynamic word study, as well as research. So first off, if you go into Reading and Research, this section right here under Research, this is where you can change some of your defaults. So by default, what language or what searches do you want? Most of the time, you're going to want that set to English. But if you're a Greek scholar or a Hebrew scholar, and you're performing most of your searches in Greek or Hebrew, you may want that default changed. Or if you use images or verse searching the most, You have the power to change that as well. Also, what search group do you want by default? By default, we generally select all because that's going to search your entire library. But if there's a certain category that you use the most when searching books, you can actually set that as your default category. Or if you've created a My Group and that's what you want by default to show up here, then you can set that as well. And these are defaults. You can easily go up to that research menu and change any of this at any time, but you can set your defaults here. So whatever you're using the most, you can customize research to work the best for you. You can choose whether you want the results in full text, the full text of the results back, or just an excerpt back. You can choose whether you want those hits to show up in the browser like I showed you, or if you have to open them up in a separate tab in order for that to work. You can choose whether it reports missing texts and tools. In my case, I keep that off because I just flat don't need it. You can choose by default if you want a flex search or exact search. And exact search a lot of times is more useful than the flex search, not always, but like if you're going to be doing a lot of phrase searching, you may want to set it by default to exact search instead of flex search, because flex search is going to search each individual word. Exact search is going to search the entire phrase. So you can choose what you want there. And then if you're doing a Hebrew search, you want that to be a literal search or a grammatical search, you have that capability is there. This rebuild button is also useful, especially if you make major changes to your library. So if you reorganize all of your tools into different categories or folders or subfolders, or if you really install a lot of books or update a lot of books at once, I usually come back to settings and just hit this button and let it go ahead and rebuild that. Because I found that it just makes performance of research run better and run more smoothly. Occasionally, we've had users that's had major changes to their libraries or major changes to their library structure, and then they'll perform some research in Accordance, and then Accordance will crash. They'll post on the forums or email support and say, hey, when I'm performing research, it crashed. 99% of the time, this button will cure all ills if that were to happen. So keep that in mind as a troubleshooting tip. And then if I make any major changes to my library, I usually just, as a preventative measure, just go ahead and hit it once in a blue moon, just make sure that everything's running clean and performance is running smoothly. So it never hurts to just do it as a preventative measure as well. But definitely keep it in mind as a troubleshooting measure if you run into any issues with that, or with search results in research. If something just doesn't seem to be functioning properly, then take a look at that. The other tab that you're going to want to spend some time looking at some changes under your settings or preferences is Live Click. And this will allow you to choose what actually shows up when you click on an item with Live Click. So I have lexicon lookup check marked, and that's going to search all my Greek or Hebrew lexicons. If you have a custom group of lexicons that you would rather search instead, you can create your own group and then they can appear here. Under verse lookup, I have that checked as well. And in my case, I have it set to a text browser tab. If you would rather have a research tab, you can do that as well. Or if you have a custom group, you can have that show up as well. You can also have the word usage checked as well, and you can choose whether that goes across the entire text or the current Bible book that you're studying. Or if you have a custom group of text, you can have those searched as well. So for example, when I did that custom group of English text, I could limit my search to that if I wanted to. And then if you want dynamic word study to appear in Live Click, you can check that box as well, and it will appear there. Also, you can choose whether or not and to override with the Shift key, but you can choose for Greek and Hebrew by default, do you want it to search the lexeme or the inflected form? And on key numbers, do you want it to search the key number or the word? And then do you want it to be instant, so the moment you click it, then it's going to just to display, or do you want it delayed? I usually have mine set to delayed just to make that a little bit more smoothly there. So take a look at those features, and that will allow you to customize what happens when you click on live click. And so Bert wrote back and said that, yeah, the within does work for him. He gave a search that says grace within 3 words, faith. So let's give that a try. Let's do grace within 3 words, faith. And see what happens. And David's saying that, yeah, that works. And then while I'm waiting for this search to populate, Chris said I downloaded version 14 on a new Mac, but King James Version doesn't show up in easy install. How can I get it? First of all, check to make sure it's not already in your library. So what you want to do is, first of all, go to your library and just type in KJV. It may have automatically installed, and you just for some reason, sometimes it gets overlooked. If for some reason it didn't install in your library automatically, and yeah, this search did work, so that's excellent. Thanks for pointing that out. So if it didn't install, there's a couple things you can do. So one, you can go to your coordinates menu, you can go to easy install, and then under easy install, you can, I'll just go ahead and stop this. You can click on your action menu and you can log out. There's usually a log out button here, but since I canceled my easy install, I probably didn't refresh this whole thing, but there's usually a log out button there. So you can try logging out and then signing back in with your Accordance username and password. The other thing that you can do is you can hold down the Option key or Alt key, and you can open Accordance safe mode, and then you can say to I would check this. I would check the it's this one that I would say to check the downloads. So clearing the downloads, you're going to want to select that one when you're launching Accordance, and see if that will take care of the issue. And now I need to exit out of this. And if that doesn't work, then get in touch with our tech support team. That's techsupport@accordancebible.com, and they will make sure that you're good to go there and assist you with hunting down why that's not there. So I'm hoping that a few of those tips will get you going. For some reason they're not, yeah, you check the library. Try those few tips I gave you, and if for some reason it still isn't working, reach out to tech support, and they will definitely be able to assist you with that. Also, if you're on a Mac, make sure one other thing to do is go to your system settings and go to privacy and security. And you're going to want to make sure some things are set here, like full disk access and accessibility. You want to add Accordance to those, because if you don't, then your Accordance program will sometimes not fully do what it should be doing, because Apple has put a lot of restrictions on Mac OS. And so you want to make sure you take a moment to do that as well. And that's a good tip that I need to give out to any new user that's on a Mac. So it's Apple menu, system preferences if you're before Ventura, system settings if it's after Ventura, and it's going to be privacy and security, and then set it to full disk access and accessibility as a bare minimum. I don't think there's any others that we recommend or that we say you need to set it to, but at least set those to, and that will make sure that Accordance is running super smoothly on your Mac. So that is research and word study. Now let's briefly talk about my stuff. Not going to spend a whole lot of time here because we do have other webinars and videos that go into all of this in more detail, but I just want to briefly go over what kind of content that you store in Accordance. And also, by default, Accordance will store your user files in the Accordance files folder in your documents folder. So if you need to move the content to another computer, that's where you can look for this. And so there's some things we won't really get into a big discussion on, but I'll just go over a few things that's in the Accordance files folder. So answers are any questions that you save with dynamic answers. So for example, if I open Mounce's workbook, and if I wanted to save answers in Mounce's workbook, I can save those answers, and that's the folder where those are saved at. You just look at them right here in the workbook itself. The custom phrasing feature that we have in Accordance 14 allows you to create your own text flow diagrams in Bibles. So especially useful if you're diagramming Greek or Hebrew. So those files are saved here as well. We do have the ability where you can create your own highlights files as well. So you can create your own highlights files by going to new highlight file, and you can define your own highlight styles as well in Accordance and have that capability of highlighting the biblical text. But what I really want to drill down on is the My Stuff section in the library. So if I go here to My Stuff, here's just a quick high-level overview of what type of content that you can save in Accordance. So My Notes allows you to save biblical notes that are attached to your Bible. And this is basically the equivalent of writing in the margin of a print Bible. And then you can rest your cursor on any Bible verse, and you can hit the plus button, and then it's going to ask you what user note file that you want to save the notes in. And you can save the notes in any note file, and you can create as many note files as you want to. So think of My Notes as a way where if you're wanting to write content in the margin of your print Bible, you now have that capability of doing that right inside Accordance with these My Notes feature in Accordance. The My Tools feature in Accordance allows you to create your own Accordance modules inside Accordance. Now, you want to be careful of how you use this feature to make sure that you're not violating copyright. So you would not want to use the My Tools feature to try to create or distribute copyrighted content that's already available for sale in Accordance. If there's a tool that's already for sale in Accordance, it's best to just buy it directly from us and allow our wonderful team of module developers to produce it. But there's a couple of great things you can do with My Tools. One, if you have your own content in Accordance, maybe you wrote your own academic papers in seminary, or maybe you're a pastor that's written your own sermons, and you want to be able to search that content in Accordance. You do have that capability of creating a user tool or a My Tool of all of that content and have that in Accordance. If there's any other content that you've collected or compiled over the years or written over the years, any other writings of yours, you can bring those directly into Accordance. It's also a great way to bring in public domain content as well. So if there are public domain works that we don't sell on the Accordance library and you want to be able to search that content in Accordance, then you can do that. And so the quickest way of bringing that content in is under user files. You can select either new user tool or import user tool. So under new user tool, you would create your user tool from scratch and edit the content and type the content into Accordance. And with Accordance 14, we've also added some new tool categories. So up through Accordance 13, you can create a general user tool, and this would be just your typical general book or collection of sermons or academic papers or whatever that you would want to create. With Accordance 14 onward, you can actually create your own commentary that's fully searchable by verse. And so if you have longer content than you would want to put in a Bible note and flesh out your own personal commentary, you can now do that in Accordance. Or maybe you're a Greek or Hebrew scholar and you want to create your own Greek or Hebrew lexicon and compile word studies that you've done on Greek and Hebrew terms and be able to search those by Greek or Hebrew terms, then you can do that. Or if you want to compile your own dictionary of Bible terms or other English terms, then you can do that as well. And we have a whole webinar dedicated to user tools as well. That you can go into. You can import user tools as well, and you can import from various formats. So you can import from PDF. You can take a PDF and you can bring it into Accordance. Now there is a minor issue going on right now where some PDFs in Accordance 14 are not fully importing, where you're getting blank content and just page numbers. Our programmers are aware of this, and I've told them that this is a high priority bug report that needs to be corrected in a future update to Accordance, and we hope to address that when we have a moment. You can import HTML content as well into a user tool. If you have a plain text file, you can bring that in as well. Also, if you have access to TLG, that massive Greek database of Greek content that's licensed to seminaries, and you download TLG files, you can bring those into Accordance as well. So you can search those TLG files in Accordance. And then when you bring in the files, you can choose whether you want to create a new user tool or import them into an existing tool, and then tell it how you want it sorted as one of those user tool categories. In addition to that, we do also have the ability where you can merge user notes, or you can import user notes as well. So if you're coming over from BibleWorks, your BibleWorks user notes will import into Accordance. We do have the ability where you can create user Bibles outside of Accordance in a text document format, and then you can import those as a Bible text in Accordance. So just to give you a quick brief demo of what a user Bible looks like. We do have some user text here. So for example, here's a Luther German Bible that was created as a user Bible and brought into Accordance. So you do have that capability as well. Also under My Stuff, we do have the ability to create stacks as well. And stacks are like these visual note cards where you can add content to various stacks. And I'm just going to also quickly open a note and a tool just so you can get a few of those, and then we'll look at stacks. So for example, here's a note of a metrical psalter that you can look at. Here's a user tool of the Second Helvetic Confession, so you can see what a user tool looks like. And then for a stack, I'm going to just quickly create a new stack here, just so you can see what this looks like. And so I can select content and bring it into a stack. And my colleague Sean Nelson has a really good article on this that we sent out in a newsletter, and that I think we've also got this up on the forums, where I can add content to a stack. So I selected content here in my book, and then on the main toolbar I clicked on the Add to Stack button, and these are like visual note cards. So if you're collecting research in Accordance, then you can add content to your own stacks, and you can give each note card a name. You can star it if you want this to be a favorite item. You can copy this content to the clipboard. You can, here's the content itself, and then it's even got the footnote as well under it. So you do have that capability of creating your own visual note cards in Accordance with these stacks. A great way of collecting research in accordance. We also have a capability called My Papers as well. And this is another way that you could bring academic papers, or you can also bring sermons into accordance. So we do have, some people prefer the user tool because they just like that particular format, but we also have a way where you can create your own papers or sermons or lessons in accordance as well with papers. So here you can choose a paper template. So I could create a lecture or a lesson or an inductive sermon or a exegetical sermon if I wanted to. So here's, for example, a lesson, and then I've got this really nice template that's here, and so I can give it a title and say my lesson, and then I can just flesh out the content in this just like I would in a word processor. So this is another great tool that you can use for building lessons or sermons or academic papers in accordance. And bringing that content right in and having that available in your library. We do have a way where you can bookmark content in books as well and have them display under the My Stuff as well. This is useful if you need to go back and find a spot in a book that you're reading. And then also, we did cover this in the first webinar, but I'm just going to cover it again. You can go to File and Save or Save As, and you can save various workspaces in accordance of content, different tabs and tools and modules in accordance. For example, here was the workspace I did of the complete biblical library, where I've got my Bible and my study Bible in one zone, and I've got my Hebrew and Greek dictionaries in another zone. So you do have that capability as well. And you can see some of the user files. You can go to File, User Files, and be able to work with some of my stuff there. And we have webinars that cover all of these in rich detail, as well as we have other videos and articles and all sorts of content that covers these in rich detail as well. But I want to give you a high-level overview of what you can do with my stuff in accordance. And so that's the main stuff that's here. And so let's see. And then Bert said, can you show how to select two research categories to search together? Answer is use the shift key to add other categories, those already selected. So sure, yeah, we can do that. So we can search, for example, theological, and then I can hold down the shift key and say journals. And wait, was that what I was supposed to be doing? Linda, go ahead and unmute Bert so we can make sure that I can answer this correctly.
Yeah, Mark, Nathan, that worked for me. I just held down the shift key. I selected one and then I selected the next one, and it gave them to me with a plus sign next to them.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you said shift key, right?
Shift key, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let me go back and try it again.
Okay.
It was just a feature that I couldn't find document anywhere, and that's why I thought talking about it might help people, but I was able to make it select two categories in there's an illustration where it shows the plus, but it doesn't say how to do it in the help file.
Were your two categories right next to each other, Bert?
No, I selected dictionaries and preaching, for example. It was just, I just held down the shift key and it, now I had already I'd already done a research and it popped up on the, in the window that I went over and used it on the pull down menu on the left side, but it should work in both, I would assume. Run dictionaries, for example.
Okay.
Just look up grace or faith. I don't care, any word. And then over there on the left side where it says dictionaries, pull that down, hold it on the shift key, and see if you can add to it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
now you got both dictionaries and so if you run the thing again, at least it worked there.
Okay, so yeah, that's what you have to do. So yeah, so it doesn't work from this menu. But what it does do is if you will select a term, so I'm going to do research for justification, and then make sure I can spell and run my search. And then now if I select the pull down category and hold down the shift key and say, hey, I want to add journals to that and run the search, now I'm able to search multiple categories in research. So yeah, you do have to run one search and then hold down click in this menu, hold down the shift key, and then you can select multiple categories. So thanks for pointing that out. And yeah, that's how you can get to that. It's not, you can't run it from the main research menu yet. You have to at least have one search available to run, and then you can do it. So
Are there any other questions?
I'm not seeing anything else, and so that's all I have for this evening. Linda is going to give a coupon for a moment for 15%